Welcome to Building Recovery Relationships, presented by NIAPRIS, the New York Association of Psychiatric Rehabilitation Services. I'm Larry Hochwald. NIAPRIS is a statewide coalition of people who use and/or provide community mental health recovery services and supports dedicated to improving services and social conditions for people with psychiatric disabilities by promoting their recovery, rehabilitation, and rights. This presentation is part of our PROS Adult Home Outreach and Curriculum Project. You can find more information at our website, pros.niapris.org. I've been in the mental health field for over 19 years and in healthcare for over 22. I'm a certified psychiatric rehabilitation practitioner who has over 15 years' experience in training in and out of mental health. I've worked in inpatient, residential, and employment services. I've been the chair of the Staten Island Mental Health Council. I was honored in 2015 by the NAMI Staten Island chapter for my advocacy and mental health education work in the community. I've co-authored articles in behavioral health news, and I presented at various universities on stigma and anti-stigma efforts. Today we will work on acquiring knowledge and exploring recovery concepts. We'll develop our toolbox of skills that support recovery, identify characteristics and benefits of a recovery-oriented helping relationship, apply elements of recovery to some of the stages in a helping relationship. It's good to start with a working definition of recovery so we're all on the same page. Here's one we like. Mental health recovery involves a personal journey of actively self-managing a psychiatric disorder while reclaiming, gaining, and maintaining a positive sense of self, roles, and life beyond the mental health system, in spite of the challenges of psychiatric disability. Recovery is supported by a foundation based on hope, belief, personal power, respect, connections, and self-determination. Do you believe relationships impact recovery? Have you seen how building your relationship with the individuals that you work with has affected their recovery over time? Studies have shown that the expectations of caregivers have a direct impact on the people they work with, meaning if you have positive expectations, they're more likely to have positive outcomes. And sadly, the opposite is true as well. Negative expectations can lead to more negative outcomes. The problem for you, of course, is that you're not the only caregiver for most of the people you work with. Their family, their friends, their medical practitioners, their mental health professionals, other mental health professionals who may have different expectations could impact the excellent work that you're doing. There's also another way we can see how our relationship impacts people's recovery, because you may have done assessments or asked very difficult questions about trauma early in a relationship with an individual. And then as time goes by, you may have noticed that the answers change. This is very common. As you build a stronger relationship, as they come to trust you, it's only natural that then they may feel comfortable sharing with you the true aspects of difficult times in their lives. You don't have to be a professional to see this. Even when we have personal relationships, we see that over time, people become more comfortable with us. So this is important to know because there's no way to skip that stage. You can work with someone and you can tell them, trust me, but just like in your personal relationships, that may actually make people more leery of you because they were probably taught, don't ever trust people who say, trust me. People learn trust through your actions. People learn trust through that good relationship that you're building. SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, has found there are 4 domains that support people in their mental health and substance use recovery. The first domain is health. SAMHSA has found that when people have uncontrolled illness, chronic illness that's not being managed, chronic pain that is not under control, that they are unable to focus on their recovery, which is understandable when you have such significant medical issues getting in the way. The same has been found for having a good home. Having a safe and stable home is extremely important for people to be able to focus on their recovery. And it's been found that people who are homeless or people who are living in fear are not able to work on their recovery And that's why many states mandate that service providers focus on health and home at the very beginning that services are entered into. Once people are ready to move into and on through their recovery, it's been found that a sense of purpose is very important. Having a job, whether it's volunteer or paid, going back to school, reconnecting with family and family roles, caretaking for someone, are all found to be very important to help people move through their recovery. So is working on their own independence. Working on your own independence is a tenet of mental health recovery, and it also helps move people through it. And then there's being a part of the community, building your social networks and relationships. These are the things that help us when we have issues in our lives. We reach out to family, friends, our social network, our casual relationships, our work relationships, and these are the same kind of networks that everyone needs to build so that they don't have to rely on service providers. Often in mental health care, when we provide services to people, if we don't have a very defined role, such as providing clinical therapeutic assistance, sometimes we get lost and we have the relationship, but we're not assisting with the work necessary to move people through their recovery. This is a general template that people can use when they are working with someone and they're not sure what to do in a particular circumstance. Often, when people get involved in mental health services, providers sometimes do too much for the individual. They feel that the individual can't do it on their own. We have to do it for them, and we provide a lot of services. Now, that's a normal thing to do when you first connect with an individual and you are working on establishing their needs and helping them move on with their recovery. But at some point, you want to move from providing services to assisting people to get on with their own life. So rather than drive them to a medical appointment, you might introduce public transportation. So in the assist stage, you might go with them on the bus, show them how to use the payment system for that particular mass transit system, and then show them where they get off on the bus to get to their particular appointment. But then we want to move further along. What we ultimately want to do is teach people how to work and get on with their lives on their own. So next we would tell them to take mass transit on their own, remind them how they pay, remind them how they track what stop they need to get off at, and move them into the stage of independence where they're doing the things for themselves, and we're no longer either providing the service or assisting them with the service. We've taught them, and they are now fully independent. But it's very hard to get people to trust us and work with us. Just because they were referred to us, just because they showed up, doesn't mean they're really engaged in the services. We need to get them to not only show up and say they'll do what they want to do and need to do, but also that they're activated, that they're motivated and engaged in the actual services. And that's important because when they're fully engaged, it will not only promote that relationship building between the two of you that you need for successful outcomes, but when they feel engaged and motivated to do the work to move on with their recovery, it instills hope and it begins to support their own person-driven goals, because that's what your role is, to help them formulate and act on their person-driven goals. One way to engage is not just to always be talking, but actually to be listening. The only way to find out someone's goals, the barriers to reaching those goals, the barriers to their own engaging with you, such as negative experiences with previous service providers. The only way to know all these things and to understand them is to listen. So let's do an exercise to practice our listening skills. Choose a partner, decide who will speak and who will listen, and choose a topic to talk about for 5 minutes. The listener does not use any verbal responses, not nothing, just absolute silence. The listener instead uses nonverbal skills and cues to demonstrate that they are listening and understanding. Facial expressions, seating position, hand movements. Write your observations of yourselves, both the person speaking, how they felt about what they were saying, and did they feel they were being heard, and the person who is listening. Write how they felt listening, and if they felt that the other person was reacting to the way that they were non-verbally listening. Then get back together in your groups and debrief as a group. Do you believe the language that we use with people can have an impact on their recovery? There's language that's disempowering and there's language that is empowering. When we tell people what to do, that can be considered disempowering. And in fact, do we ourselves like to be told what to do? Often when people tell us what to do, especially if we don't absolutely have to do it, we get very angry and resistant and we shut down. Even if we have to do it, we don't like to be told what to do rather than somebody speaking to us in a more collaborative, empowering way. So when we tell people that we're working with that they should do something, they need to do something, they must do something, that can shut them down to being open to what we have to say and the importance of what we have to say. Also, of course, they don't necessarily have to do what we tell them. In most cases, in fact, they don't have to do it. So we're not speaking in the most accurate way. And this can lead to problems in future occurrences when we tell them something that they must do very importantly in order to keep their benefits going, in order to take advantage of an opportunity, and they may not believe us because we always use language like you must and you should, when that's not the most accurate way to portray something. If we tell people things like, you can't do that, or no one can do that, not only might they shut down, but those could be considered kind of challenging. And we might make people want to try to do something when their time and resources might be spent in another pursuit. If you were to say to someone instead of no one can do that, well, up till now no one's been able to do that, but how would you do it differently? You're encouraging them and telling them to look at it from a problem-solving perspective. They might either come up with a creative, novel way to do it that would work, or they might see what you're saying and realize this isn't worth my time and resources because that's not something anyone's likely to be able to do. Empowering people leads to independence, and we want people to be independent because that's how they move through their recovery. And independence affords the dignity of risk and the right to fail, which is a very important concept for mental health workers because we tend to want to, again, lead people's lives so that we make sure they have a nice life. We don't want people to fail because we feel then they'll feel bad and they won't try again. But this isn't really human nature. We know, if we've ever been kids or had kids, that we had to be given the right to fail, that you have to give kids the right to fail, because if they don't have the right to fail, they never get to try. If you don't take a chance, you may not fail, but then you can't succeed either. You can't really move on with your life. Independence also helps people strive for community integration, because being independent doesn't mean being alone. We still need our natural supports. We still need our community. It will help us develop those peer and natural supports, but also self-help tools. If I'm on my own sometimes, I need to know how to help myself. As practitioners and service providers, we need to develop our own recovery skills toolbox. Think about it. What's the most effective thing you do with the people you serve? Write some things down and ask this at a team meeting. Write down other people's responses. Together, you can help build your own staff recovery skills toolbox. What tools do aid in people's own personal recovery? Well, the Wellness Toolbox Personal Medicine, these are the personal wellness tools that help people feel better, get back to wellness, deal with difficult circumstances. Wellness Toolbox is from RAP. Personal medicine was coined by advocate and psychologist Pat Deegan, but the concept is coming up with the personal things that make you feel better, perform better, get back to wellness. Having a peer network, having a network of people who understand what you're going through is very important to helping you get through your recovery. Those natural supports, people in the community, the people we rely on when we don't have service providers to help us, our friends and family, the people we make friendship with at religious and spiritual institutions who see things the same way we do. Also the same people we meet at political organizations. If we join a chess club or a science fiction club, these are the community friendships we make that we can rely on when we might need something, just as they might contact us when they need something. If you're trying to help someone figure out their personal medicine, some questions you can ask: have you ever used peer support? Have you attended spiritual or faith-based activities? Do you feel strongly about any social issues? Have you ever been a member of a community organization? So what are you going to do? Think about the importance of the relationships. Think about some of the things we covered here today. What can you change? What will you add to the way you work? What do you think about all this? Thank you for watching this presentation. We hope you enjoyed it and got some useful tools from it. This is a mini version of our full recovery relationships training. NIAPRIS offers tens of trainings for any OMH licensed or funded agencies in New York State. The people listed on the right side of the screen are our training and technical assistance staff throughout the regions of the state, and in every area there is somebody who can provide free training to you. If you're not OMH licensed or funded, you can still get our training, but there is a very nominal fee associated. If you would like more training, including some of the trainings that were mentioned in this presentation, such as RAP, Wellness Recovery Action Plans, Trauma-Informed Care, or the Full Recovery Relationships Training, or our Engagement and Motivation Training, feel free to contact the people on the right. Thank you and have a great day.